Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Manchester United versus Watford preview, plus the latest transfer news on David Alaba and Ozan Kabak. And what better way to counter losing your fourth cup semi-final than to start another cup where you can get to the semi-final and get knocked out again. Absolutely fantastic. But actually, you know what? There is a big positive about this cup game. And I think that is basically when you look to my left and you look at the team news there. I think there's so much positivity we can get out of this game by making lots of changes and giving people who deserve a chance to play in this game. Now, there has been some talk about Pellistri starting. Manchester Evening News have spoken about that. I don't see how you get Pellistri in the team, and I don't see that being the team that Ollie picks. We'll get into that in a few minutes' time, but I want to talk about the transfer news first. But obviously, Watford in the FA Cup, and I feel that actually we do need this game. There's many games over the last few years where United have had a cup game that you expect them to win. You know they're going to play some of the reserves, and the reserves are the shit players that you don't really want to see. The weird thing with United at the moment is that a lot of the players that are not getting game time that we want to see against Watford are players that we like, whether it's Telles, Twansebi, Greenwood, Van der Beek. There's a few, and there's some youngsters as well. So it is an exciting game in that sense. And of course, Watford were in the Premier League last year. They've still got the likes of Foster in goal, Chalobah, Cleverley, Troy Deeney. They're not all in goal, but you know what I mean. They've still got some of those players that you'll recognise. And it will be a potential banana skin, not because they're wearing yellow, but because they could sting us, Hornets. But they could get a result against us. So it's interesting how and where Solskjaer is going to put value on this game, how strong he will go. I don't think he will make that many changes. I certainly don't think Pellistri will start, because how can he start fitting him into the team? But Tadar, it's Sarr. Don't forget about Sarr, says Santosh as well. Definitely. Okay, so I'm just going to give you the transfer news, then we'll get into the Watford game as well, because I know some people have quite exciting news about Kabak. But first of all, I'm sure Flex and KG will discuss this on the 8 o'clock show, but obviously we launched United Stand picks last night. There's no link in the video description or anything like that for you to download it or get involved, because it happens for every game, and obviously it was for Man City last night. But we did get a winner, and the winner is James Wood. So shout out to James Wood. You have won the prize for the United Stand picks competition last night. Well done, James Wood. Trying to call him James Woods, who's actually a very good actor in films such as Once Upon a Time in America, and that's the only one I know. Would love Greenwood at striker for this game, says Niall Wagner. Well, I thought about that, and I basically thought that Greenwood could play through the middle, and you could put Mata on the right, and you could put Lingard or something like that, and he could do that. But I don't think he'll go that. Well, I don't think it's that weak. I think that's a very good team. I think that team should and would and could beat Watford, but I don't think he's going to make that many changes. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rashford starting. I wouldn't even be stunned if we saw Bruno start, which is ridiculous, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about a bit of transfer news here, because I want to talk to you about the centre-back situation. Is definitely a situation that Manchester United need to sort out. And please smash a like on the video if you're watching live. Welcome everyone who's tuning in. Lingard for Mata, says Daryl. Well, look, we're going to have to spend a few minutes on that. We'll do it in a minute. But let me just talk to you about this centre-back news. So, a couple of stories to bring you. First one about David Alaba. Very, very much expected that he's going to go to Real Madrid. But actually, Spanish reports are saying this is not as close as some people are reporting. Now, remember Christian Falk and Romano, they've all hinted at Alaba will go to Real Madrid. However, it's not as close as some would say when you listen to Spanish reports, because they're saying there is an issue over the wages. Now, I mentioned this on one show, maybe last night when I was moaning, that David Alaba wants about 12 million euros to go to Real Madrid or wherever he's going to go. Remember, he's out of contract in the summer, so he's free to talk to people right now in January. Bayern Munich can't stop it. They can't get him to sign a new contract. So it's not a signing for now, it's a signing for the summer. Bayern Munich are not of a mind to let him go in January. So is it what United need right now? No. But United are one of the 5 teams that apparently are in for David Alaba. 12 million euros a year for David Alaba. Look, there will be agent fees, of course. Of course there's going to be agent fees, because his agent and Alaba are going to make a bit of money out of this. There's no transfer fee. David Alaba's 28. I think if he had 3 years left on his contract and he was looking to move, you're looking at about 60 million quid. Some would say, why not 80 when Harry Maguire cost that? But you're looking at about 60 million pounds for David Alaba. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. 12 million euros a year, not that much, considering the fact that Harry Maguire, when you convert it to euros, is on about just under 11 million euros a year. So David Alaba wanting 12 million euros a year isn't that much when we're paying Harry Maguire just under 11 million euros a year. So if Real Madrid are saying they can't afford those wages, Manchester United probably would say we can't afford them either. Why can't we afford them though? Because we're paying them to other players who were meant to be. And I read this today. I want to see Harry Maguire playing with Eric Bailly. I think that centre-back pairing has worked recently. We haven't got time to experiment. And we should be playing that centre-back pairing against Burnley and Liverpool. That's the centre-back pairing I want to see. Having said that, I mean, Jack Jones says bench Maguire, not for the reason you think though, just purely so he can see the defensive errors from a subjective point of view and try and fix them. You know, reflection would be good. I said it today, just very, very quickly on Harry Maguire. I do like him. I think he's a good player in the right centre back pairing. But at the moment, every time he plays with Lindelof, he looks bad. I cannot believe the amount of headers he wins from corners, our corners, and misses. Like, it's not easy to win a header from a corner. It isn't easy, and I'll give him total credit for doing that. Winning a header from a corner is not easy, and he wins them so many times. He does the hard bit, and then he just lets it bounce off his head like a balloon. He's got to get some neck muscles and start practicing on that. Easily had over 10 of these this season. How many has he actually scored? So he needs to improve on that. But bottom line is, Harry Maguire was our Sergio Ramos. Harry Maguire was our Van Dijk. Harry Maguire was our Koulibaly. That's what we did with that signing. And I want to take it away from Harry Maguire for a minute, but £80 million on a centre-back, you expect to get a Van Dijk. You expect to get a Sergio Ramos. And we got a Harry Maguire. And that's the thing. We've now got to go and buy another centre-back because that signing wasn't the signing we thought it was going to be. It's not Harry Maguire's fault. It isn't. It's not. It's got nothing to do with him. It's our scouting. It's our decision to go after that player. It's not Harry Maguire's fault. It's our fault, and we got it wrong. I still think, though, and there's a tweet out there that often comes up, I still think Harry Maguire is one of the top 10 centre-backs in the world. Not right now, but when we bought him, I think he was. So the question has to be, where's that gone wrong? But he's got to have a quicker centre-back next to him. Of course he has. And David Alaba could be that. But it's going to cost us money to do it, of course. The second player I want to talk about is Ozan Kabak, because yet again, we have been linked to him this morning. I saw it on the Twitter page of MUFC MPB. He was quoting a Turkish journalist, and obviously Ozan Kabak, well, I say obviously, Ozan Kabak is a 20-year-old, 6'1", right-footed centre-back who is at Schalke, who's been linked to quite a few clubs. Bayern Munich tried to get him, actually. Liverpool have been linked to him. Interesting. I don't know how advanced the talks are really for Kabak, but interesting. This is just something I'm going to read you because I don't know loads about him. All I know is that very driven, very ambitious, and considered to be one of the best young centre-backs in European football at the moment. But you might quite like this. This is from the official website for the Bundesliga. They're talking about Kabak, and basically what they're saying is that plays a bit like Sergio Ramos. Kabak has a sound in-game radar and a deceptively quick turn of pace. Powerful in the air and with a great sense of timing. 4 of his 6 Bundesliga goals have been headers. He also comes complete with the same bite for which Real captain Ramos has become so well known. So, you know, I mean, effectively, they're likening him to Sergio Ramos in many ways, that he's deceptively quick. Well, for me, that makes him a consideration, because if he is deceptively quick and he's obviously competitive, to be honest, from the very little I know about him, he reminds me a little bit of the sort of he's not 5'9", he's 6'1", Charlie. He reminds me of the sort of player that's sort of player that Man United need, the sort of player that when that cross comes in yesterday, they don't back away from it like Maguire and Lindelof. They go and get something on it, a bit like Eric Bailly. So he's interesting. If he's deceptively quick, then that solves part of the problem. But look, whether we're in for him or not, I don't know. And I would prefer Badiashile because he's left-footed and he is quick and he is tall, like Yuri Pete says. But you know what United are doing about centre-backs, you can write on the back of a stamp. I don't think they're doing very much. I've got to be honest. And he's got the aggression, of course, but I don't think we're doing very much around Kabak at the moment. I don't think we're doing much around centre-backs at all. And I really wish we were, because I think it's really, really important. And we've seen that again. And I want to move on from the Man City game. But, you know, Ollie said that we're closer to Man City than we were a year ago. Well, I think he's right. I think we are closer to Man City than we are a year ago because we've got Bruno. And I think, that's a valid point. But I also think we've regressed from Manchester City on two key areas. One, we're not scoring against Man City anymore. We've played them twice in the last month and we've not scored in 2 games. That's not good enough. And a big reason for that is that Manchester City a year ago were vulnerable at the back, especially at centre-back, and now they're not. They've been and bought Ruben Diaz in the summer and they have massively improved their defence, and our defence has got worse. So yeah, I think we are closer to City because look at where we are in the league. But they have improved a key area. Man City last season, everybody knew they were vulnerable at centre-back. They've got Fernandinho and that Argentinian Pratt, Otamendi playing at the back. Now they've got Stones, Laporte and Diaz playing for 2 spots, and they're defending fantastically well. So they've improved their defence. Our defence has got worse and has become very, very vulnerable. Free up Donny, says Swaz Johnson. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Just the final story I wanted to bring you on the transfer front. Andreas Pereira might be coming back to Manchester United. Not for any good reason, because he's not getting in the Lazio team. So those people who don't rate Andreas Pereira probably won't be that surprised, but he might be coming back to United, not to be used, but to be, probably to go on another loan. But his future at Manchester United, he doesn't really have one. Although I think I'm right in saying that we gave Andreas Pereira a big contract not that long ago. He's another one of the Phil Jones lot, isn't he? Jack Bridger says, I'd be happy with the FA Cup. Well, let's talk about the FA Cup. Saturday evening, 8 o'clock on United Stand. We'll be doing the watch-along, of course. But it's an 8 o'clock kickoff on Saturday night. Manchester United entertaining Watford in the FA Cup third round. No replays. It will go to extra time and then it will go to penalties. There is VAR because it's at Old Trafford. There's not VAR in every FA Cup game, but there is VAR if it's at a Premier League game. So we will have VAR in the game. And look, I expect Manchester United to win this game. I think that's a team I've put together. I wouldn't even call it a predicted team. I'd be interested to see what you think. But in reality, what we don't know, but where does Solskjaer value this FA Cup? He will value it because he wants to win a trophy. But we've put all that effort into the Carabao Cup, and then last night we put very little effort into it, and we're out in a semi-final again. And it is difficult to get excited about the FA Cup when you think, well, yeah, we could get to the semi-final, but then we'll play someone decent and we'll bottle it again. But having said that, the excitement for this game does come from the fact that if he makes the right changes, it becomes a very interesting game, and it almost becomes a tournament for these players who, the FA Cup is quite regular. I think it's 2 games a month, isn't it, basically through till April. So it's an opportunity for those players that are not getting game time to play. And that's the challenge to Solskjaer. Instead of thinking, I'm going to try and win this as well, and tiring out your first team who are going to have to start playing Europa League in a few weeks and are in a title race, realistically, I hope that he's going to, use the bigger squad with players that many of us think should be playing first team football anyway, who haven't played. So for me, Henderson plays in goal for this game, of course, because it's the FA Cup, and we'll use David for Europa League and the Premier League. Wan-Bissaka cannot play, and I don't want to see Tuan Sebi playing at right back either. So, there has to be a viable backup for for Wan-Bissaka, and I think Fosu Mensah should get a run out there until we buy this right back. So I'd put Fosu Mensah there. Tuan Sebi needs to play centre back. Maguire never gets dropped, so playing with him, I think we'll see a better Maguire, and I'm quite happy with that. I do not want to see Eric Bailly playing in this game, because if Eric Bailly plays in this game, then that means he was dropped for the Man City game, and he will be dropped for the Burnley game, because he's clearly going to play Lindelof and Maguire on Tuesday night if he's going to play Eric Bailly in the Watford game. So I don't want to see Eric Bailly in this game. I want to see Tuan Sebi and Maguire at centre-back. Telles comes in at left-back. Give Luke Shaw a rest. He bloody deserves it after all the running he did against Man City. And Telles needs game time. So that's your back 5 sorted. Midfield 2, Matic has got to play. Fred needs a rest, McTominay shouldn't play, and Pogba would be good to give him a rest as well. So I'd actually go Matic and Van der Beek, because I think Van der Beek can play that role. He has played that role, and it's Watford, who are a championship side. So we don't need to worry about Van der Beek being exposed or any of this nonsense that people think about Van der Beek in that role. I would play Van der Beek and Matic and let Donny impress in a position where I think he can actually get into the team. I don't mind if Donny van der Beek plays at number 10, but he's not going to get into the team in a number 10, is he? It'll just be Bruno every week. So I'd like to see Donny playing in a position where he can actually break into the team. And I still think it's either right side of the midfield or right side of the pivot. So I'd like to see him playing next to Matic, who is the best CDM we've got is Matic. So Matic will do all the defensive work, and Donny will be allowed to be a little bit more box-to-box in that role anyway. So I think that would work really, really well. Mata, I would play at number 10 to give Bruno a rest. I think Bruno has to be rested in this game, as does Rashford. So I would start Mata there. And then I would put Dan James on the left, Mason Greenwood on the right, and Anthony Martial down the middle. Basically, Anthony Martial needs some goals and confidence, and he's missed a lot of football this season for various reasons, suspensions and injury. So I would start Martial, Greenwood off the right, Dan James off the left. If you want to move them around and put Martial on the left, Dan James on the right, and Greenwood through the middle, that's absolutely fine. But that's how I would do that team. I'm happy with that team. It would be an exciting team to watch. I think you get players such as Telles, Twansebi, Van der Beek, Greenwood, all starting, that need starting, that can push on the door. For me, Telles, Twansebi, Van der Beek and Greenwood are all players that should be knocking on the first team door. So they need to be played in the position where they can impress. My concern is I don't think he's going to go with a team like that. I think we're going to see more first teamers in. As I said, I think Rashford could start. I think Bruno could start. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts Shaw, Pogba, maybe McTominay. And as soon as you start mentioning those 5 players, you've got to take 5 players out. That probably means Greenwood won't start. It probably means Van der Beek might not start. So I want to see that team. Watford is a potential banana skin. But if we lose to Watford with that team 3-2 and it's a classic, I don't think anyone's going to go Ollie out. You know what I mean? I think it's a free hit for Ollie. We know, with no shadow of a doubt, we absolutely know that we've played a lot of games this season and we've had a really, really hard season. International football has had 3 games in it instead of 2. We know it's going to be relentless in February with Europa League and league games. If we're still in the FA Cup, great. But if we get knocked out of the FA Cup, oh well, at the end of the day, we've got bigger fish to fry. So for me, the FA Cup, and I don't know what you think, get your comments in about the team and what you would do actually, because I would like to do this. But for me, this tournament is not about the first team. This tournament is about keeping the rest of the team fresh, and it's also an opportunity for this team to basically be an FA Cup team. That's not really got many first teamers in it. Maybe keep Harry Maguire in it, but maybe if Bruno's not so tired, you could take Mata out. But apart from that, I think that team is the way to go, and let's see where it goes. And if we get to an FA Cup semi-final, then I'm always of the opinion, maybe you do bring some of your first team players back in. I'm not bothered about penciling in or loyalty to players, but we've got so many games to come. Do not burn out first team players who need a rest, especially ahead of Burnley and Liverpool. This is a massive opportunity, and he should have penciled this in. You know what Ollie's like with his pencil and his calendar? He should have penciled this in weeks ago. When we play Watford at home in the FA Cup, we can rest a load of our first teamers. He's got to do it. I hope he does. Bruno's, don't know what that says, Finturton. You might want to learn to type. Hi Mark, would you consider doing a player career mode next for your That's Football career mode series? Says Travis. I would do, but not at the moment. And I would start Lindelof. It's a chance to test them together. Plus Maguire has started every game this season, so he needs a rest, says Unknown. I wouldn't mind Lindelof, but I do think if Bailly plays against Watford, he won't play against Burnley, and that to me is the most important thing. Very, very good point there, and I must admit I've totally forgotten about it. JK says that Ighalo will start. Now, that would be really. Let me just have a sip of tea. That would be sentimentality and penciling in to a whole different level. That would be ridiculous to start Ighalo in this game, because it's basically like, oh, thanks for being here for a year, Odeon, and I've penciled you in to start against Watford. Now, he's not been anywhere near the first team. I can't remember the last time he kicked a ball for us. So if we're going to pick Ighalo, I would say, okay, you better pick Pellistri as well, because if we're going to weaken our team that much, then why not just give Pellistri a go on the right-hand side? So yeah, I'm not opposed to Ighalo starting, but let's be honest, he's been pretty poor for a long, long time. And why would you chuck him into a game like this when he's not been anywhere near the first team? I'm not saying it won't happen, and I think you're absolutely right. It's a very, very good point, but I can't see how you'd bring Ighalo into that team. I really don't. I don't think it makes any sense to do it, really. But I do want to see that side. I do want to see that side. I mean, you could put Brandon Williams at right back as well, but I think Brandon Williams is working on a deal to get that to get a loan, so that could be that might be a reason that he doesn't start. Certainly the reason that I've not put him in the team. But I'm quite happy with it. I'm quite happy if he does that team. I would be very, very happy with it. And just a little bit of an update on Casido. It's off Twitter, and basically there's been a virtual meeting yesterday between a Premier League club, not United, and Independiente del Valle to discuss the potential transfer of Casido. Moises himself was on the call. The English club are keen to sign him, but a formal offer has not been yet made. So that would be probably fitting in with the story we spoke about this morning, which was, remind me, was it Everton? Everton after Casido? I think that was the story we spoke about this morning. So that might fit in with a phone call yesterday that Casido could be going to Everton, which is just going to annoy people, I know, but welcome to a Manchester United transfer window. Amit's talking about Jesse Lingard, very, very good point. And Owen says Lingard needs a chance if he finds form like a couple of years ago. That could be the difference, Mark. He looked sharp back end of last year. Don't think Jesse Lingard's ever going to find that form of a couple of years ago, mate. That was Messi Lingard. I don't think he's going to do that. But the trouble is, if you want to fit Lingard into that team, who are you going to take out? Mata needs to get some game time. Dan James, I'd take him out for Lingard, definitely. But what I'm saying is, I don't think he'll go with a team like that anyway. I still think he'll pick 3 or 4 first teamers instead. So, that to me is the team to go with 1 or 2 alterations. If you want to bring Lingard in, that's fine by me. But if you want to put Williams at right back instead of Fosu Mensah, that's fine by me. But that should be the core of the team. The point of this weekend for first teamers like Rashford and Bruno and everyone else should be, should we have a Zoom call and play poker? Or do you fancy a game of Family Fortunes or something like that? They should have their feet up on Saturday night, not their feet on the Old Trafford turf playing a game of football. We need them to get a rest. This is really, really important. Rest and recuperation is so important in any level of athletic output, but certainly the relentless nature of Manchester United's season. We've been quite fortunate this season. We've not picked up the injuries that teams like Liverpool have, but they're around the corner if you don't give people a break, and we do need to do that. Santosh says that Manchester United hope Amad Diallo can start training with them as early as next week. There you go. And also, super chat from Clarkey. He said, I always like Clarkey's super chats. He says, I think Solskjaer should have set pairings, so Maguire and Bailly for Premier League, Lindelof and Twanzebe for Europa and Cup games. You know what, Clarkey? You do come out with some really good comments. Trust me, the Prats will be Ollie out, says Kurt Davids. Thanks for the super chats. You can do that through the $ if you want to. But it's on BT Sport, the match on 8 o'clock on Saturday night, by the way. But going back to what Clarkey said, yes, I wouldn't normally be for this, but I think that Solskjaer's done quite a good job having the Pogba-Matic midfield pivot and the Fred McTominay midfield pivot, and it worked quite well. He was doing one game, one the other over Christmas, and it worked really well. I think we should do that with our centre-backs. And I'd love to see that. I don't ever want to see Maguire and Lindelof again, but I don't mind seeing Maguire and Bailly or Maguire and Twanzebe and Bailly and Lindelof. I'd love to see that done going forward, because that's a good way of giving everybody game time, keeping everybody fresh, and hopefully preventing injuries from persistence playing. So I'd love to see that. I really would, and I think we can do that in other areas as well. Going forward, we won't learn much against Watford about what our forward line is going to be, but I'll open up another can of worms here and say that for me, our best forward line is Martial off the left, Cavani down the middle, and Rashford off the right. And I think that's the team that we need to be working towards using against Burnley and Liverpool. That's the team. So that's the front line. I can pick that team against Burnley right now. I know what it is. It's De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Bailly, Maguire, Luke Shaw, Fred, Matic, Fred and Pogba, Bruno 10, Rashford, Martial, Cavani. That's my team against Burnley and Liverpool. Get McTominay out, leave Matic if you need him. That's the team that I would do. Samuel Happenon says, I think he will play Bruno. I think there's a very good chance that he will do that. I don't think he should. Hey Mark, do we even know if Ollie wants a centre-back? If he goes Maguire and Lindelof again, it shows what he thinks is good, which is a concern. That is a very good point from Yashay, and this is the thing that I spoke about last weekend after the Villa game. This is what scares me about Ollie. I think he's shown time and time again that he rates Maguire and Lindelof. He's also shown that he's a very stubborn manager. There's nothing wrong with being stubborn. Sir Alex Ferguson was very stubborn. Mourinho in his prime, very stubborn and still very stubborn now. The only problem with stubbornness is when your stubbornness is based on a wrong decision. I'm sorry, Lindelof and Maguire are not a good centre-back pairing. End of conversation. We don't need to go on about it. But if Ollie thinks they are, we're in trouble. And that is a scary thing. He does want a centre-back, though. It's well known that he wants a centre-back. He wanted a centre-back in the summer, and he still wants one now. Why would he want a centre-back if he thinks Maguire and Lindelof are good enough? That's the key thing for me. So he does want a centre-back, and we need to get one ASAP because I can't put up with Maguire and Lindelof anymore. Max Hay says Kabak would be great. Also like Coop Miners at number 6, says Max Hay. Thanks for the super chats coming in there. Thoughts on Andres Pereira terminating his Lazio contract, says Jordan. Well, we've spoken about that. I mean, for me, Pereira's just not good enough. He needs to sort himself out with a move. I hoped that at Lazio he'd do quite well, but no. And yeah, I agree with James Madiba. Donny van de Beek has to start this game, doesn't he? He absolutely has to. I try to be a lot more chill than I used to be about team news. You'll have seen it last night. I'll always say what I think, but I don't want to be losing my shit about it anymore. If Donny van de Beek didn't start against Watford at 7 o'clock on Saturday night and we get the team news, I would be like, what is going on? To put it bluntly, I wouldn't even know what to do. I would be absolutely gutted. And maybe that will happen, but I can't see it. We never spend big in January, and especially when we're doing well. The board would think that we can win the league. What are your thoughts, Mark? Says Chikorito Hernandez. Well, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for doing that through the $sign. I believe we're in a title race. I think there's a lot of United fans, understandably. Welcome to the Members Club, Ryan Kay. Thanks for joining. You get your badge next to your name, like Roman Hockey. We're lucky to have Van der Beek, he says. But, I understand why United fans are a bit unhappy today. I've chosen to just say what I think about last night's game and move on, because I know we're in a title race. That's my personal conviction. We're in a title race, and people hate it when I say it. Some people do, but I'm going to keep saying it. We're in a title race. In 2 weeks' time, we might not be. In a month's time, we might not be. In March, we might not be, but right now we are. So I'll cling on to that positive for now, because to be honest with you, would I rather lose to Man City in a Carabao Cup game and beat Burnley and Liverpool? Yes. But that's not how football works, is it? I've not been offered that. I've not had a phone call from whoever saying, Mark, you can lose to City, but you'll beat Burnley and Liverpool. Or do you want to beat City and then lose to Liverpool? The choice is yours. I don't know who that is. It's just because I'm thinking it's a higher power. They might have a big, deep voice. But the reality is, of course I would take Burnley and Liverpool wins over and lose to Man City. And maybe that will happen. But they're hypotheticals, aren't they? Realistically, you want to win last night. Do you think these many changes won't probably be done because of team chemistry, as these players have rarely played together, says Aditya? I mean, Aditya's absolutely spot on. Of course, when you make that many changes, it impacts on your team chemistry. However, my mentality would be better to make loads of changes and basically say to your first team it's a weekend off than to try and play some first team players and some non-first team players and then really impact on team chemistry. What I'm trying to say is that if we treat this game with that team as a rest for our first team, then players like Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, Fred, Bruno, Rashford, they're not playing. So they're basically it's like a weekend off, isn't it? Their next game's Burnley, but their last game's Man City. So the chemistry isn't broken because you're basically putting the team from City with 1 or 2 tweaks back together for Burnley with a week off. I think the problem between chemistry comes when you try and keep some first team players and then bring some non-first team players in, and it all gets a bit confused. So I think the more changes, the better. And I think we need to create a cup team. And there's so much football to play. Create a cup team. If the cup team does well, happy days. I mean, imagine if we win against Watford at the weekend. And my score prediction is we'll win 3-0, by the way. But imagine if we beat Watford 3-0 at the weekend with that team. Next round's a couple of weeks. Maybe you get, I don't know, you get QPR away. You send that team there, they win again. Next round, I don't know, you get Brighton at home. That team wins again. You're into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. It's March time, and Ollie's like, bloody hell, Pogba's really tired at the moment. Well, look at Matic. He's playing quite regularly. He's doing really well. This is a benefit. This is a benefit factor for Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If he can give them lot a run out and they start doing well, knowing Europa League's coming up, Premier League, you never know. It's a really good opportunity. I just don't know whether Solskjaer's evolved yet to do that. I think Sir Alex Ferguson would do that. I think Mourinho would do that. I think Pep Guardiola would do that. And I think they have done that. We haven't really ever seen Solskjaer do it. Solskjaer's always been so in awe of the job. I think last night his problem was he was in awe of Pep. And what I want to see with Solskjaer is you've basically got the backing of the fan base for the first time in a long time. There are obviously the toxic Ollie outers, I want to be right, but even most Ollie outers are let's give him till May. So you've got the fan base on side till May. You know, you've got all the Ollie inners anyway, you've got some Ollie doubters, you've got some Ollie outers, and most people are like, give him till May, let's see what happens. What Solskjaer needs to do is stop worrying about being in awe of the job. I've got to try and win every game. You know, it's almost like he hasn't settled into the shoes of being the United manager yet. He's still like a kid in a sweet shop going, running around. Just needs to chill, you know, maybe start wearing a Savile Row suit and act like he is the Manchester United manager, because ultimately, if I'm the Man United manager, I'm sat looking at this game and I am sending that team out and I'm going, first team, take a rest. You lot, this is your chance. You know, if we go out, I go out. But I don't think he's never shown that really, has he? Correct me if I'm wrong. It's my only choice in the world was Lindelof and Maguire and no other options, then I would be training my keepers to be like Nora and sweeping up fast, says Clarkey. Hey Mark, why do we take so long to buy players, says that boy Juice, because we're useless at transfers. And hi Mark, lots of talk about Fletcher and means more Mctominay. If the case may be good in the sense that Fletcher can work on Mctominay, especially his forward play. Going to come back to that in a minute, Ollie's at the wheel, because it's a very good point I want to talk about Mctominay, so thanks very much for reminding me. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching live. Subscribe, bottom right hand corner. But yeah, just going back to that there, what I was saying about Solskjaer is when you think about Pogba against Rochdale in last autumn a year ago, plays him for 90 minutes. Rashford against Wolves in the FA Cup brings him on. Both ended up getting big injuries. Lindelof, back injury, keeps playing him this season. Ollie's never shown the confidence to go and put a team like that out. He always, whether it's Carabao Cup, Europa League, FA Cup, Champions League, whoever it is, he always goes and sends quite a strong team out with a lot of first teamers in it. This weekend is a real big thing for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because he shouldn't be putting first teamers out. We don't need it. We've got Europa League next month. We're in a title race. We've just played a Carabao Cup semi-final. We're playing a game, 2 games a week at the moment. Use that squad and then reap the benefits of that squad because they'll be hungry. And then, you know, if we beat Watford with that team and then the rest of the first team's had a break for Burnley, the first team's ready to go. That team's ready if you need it. You can put some of them on the bench knowing that if you need them, they can do well. On the other hand, what I think he might do is play half his first team and then they're tired for the Burnley game and then the Liverpool game. So hopefully he will do that. Ollie just loves pressure, says Amit Singh. I think Ollie just wants to win every game because he's desperate to win a trophy. But the problem is, if you spread yourself too thin, look, if I give you a piece of bread and, you know, I've only got enough butter for half a slice, and I say you could have a really nice piece of butter, well, peanut butter. Let's pimp it up a bit. So I've only got enough peanut butter to give you a good half piece of bread. Now, would you rather have the good half piece of bread or are you going to get greedy and spread it thinly, and in which case it doesn't taste as good as it would do on the half piece? And I think Ollie at the moment is spreading himself too thinly. He's trying to do too much with his first 11. I mean, look, even last night wouldn't make the subs. There's been a couple of times that's happened this season. Wolves was another game. Rashford won it at the end. We were screaming out for subs. Last night we're screaming out for subs. He's trying to do too much with too fewer players. He's got to open it up and he'll reap the benefits. And I think that's the way I would go with it. United need a Viagra. Can't get past the semi, says Brooksy. Passing was too slow last night. Harry needs to get dropped. I just wanted to bring this in because it's really important. There was some stat floating around on social media yesterday that, or this morning, that Scott McTominay had either a 97% pass completion rate or 100%. I'm going to give him 100%. I don't care if it's 97. I'm going to say Scott McTominay last night had a 100% pass completion rate. He played crap. Some people will say, that's my boy McTominay, 100% pass completion rate. Haters gonna hate. Let me just tell you, I've always said I'm not a massive fan of stats. There's some stats that are good. There's a lot of stats that are a load of horseshit put out there by people who've never played the game of football and stand in front of screens and go, oh, this and this, because they basically belong in a maths class, not on a football pitch. So Scott McTominay, 100% pass completion rate last night, right? Let's tell the true story, right? Out of everybody out of... Right, Fred made more than 50 passes. Bruno played more than 50 passes. Luke Shaw played more than 50 passes. Maguire played more than 50 passes. Lindelof played more than 50 passes. Scott McTominay didn't play 30 passes. So he's basically almost half less passing than Fred, who is next to him. So that straight away exposes the fact he wasn't involved in the game. Out of those 30 passes, only 11 of them went forward. So less than 40% of his passes went forward, which means 60% of his passes went backwards or sideways. So not only did he not pass anywhere near as much as Fred and everybody else, most of his passes went backwards or sideways. Bruno, on the other hand, out of over 50 passes, over 70% of his passes went forward. So this is where pass completion rates need to go in the bloody bin. And you tell you what, if you play for a football team and your manager loves pass completion rates, do what McTominay does. Don't make many of them, and when you do get it, play the safe pass backwards or sideways. The reality is, I don't care if somebody's got a 5% pass completion rate, because they might try 100 passes and get 5 assists, because the more creative player will try the ridiculous pass. I remember Bruno yesterday, a no-look pass he tried to get Rashford in. It was almost perfect, but it didn't work. Now, if that goes in, if that's Scott McTominay, he's probably passing it back to Maguire. And I'm not picking out McTominay here, because there will be, I don't know how many passes Fred played forward. Maybe he didn't play many either. He didn't have a good game either. But what I'm talking about is these silly stats that get thrown out there to justify somebody having a good game when they didn't. He didn't have a good game. And that we've just dismissed it there. Robert McCormack's a big Scott McTominay fan. Let's see what he says. Keeping the ball is Pep's number one rule. But mate, Pep Guardiola's team pass forward. A lot of the passes, they go forward. I'm telling you now, that's why they score goals. Of course they're going to play a backwards or sideways pass sometimes. He didn't pass anywhere near as much as the lad next to him, Fred, and most of his passes were backwards. And you know what McTominay does with the ball. I can picture it in my mind now. Little bunny hop and a sideways pass. Little bunny hop and a pass back to Maguire. It's not progressive. Lots of people said it yesterday. McTominay shouldn't have started, and you're basically putting Pogba on the left wing to pick Scott McTominay. It should have been Pogba next to Fred last night. That's what should have happened. What do you think the future is for Van der Beek if he does not start tomorrow, says Dean Corbett? Well, look, there was an interesting thing that happened last night with Donny van der Beek, that he might that his manager Frank de Boer has basically said he should be asking for a loan. That worries me a little bit. That does worry me a little bit, that it's starting to go that way, because it's worrying that a national team coach is saying that, but he will start. He'll start on Saturday night. Surely he will. But a little bit of breaking news for you. Apparently, this is a shame, because I was going to watch this tomorrow night. Aston Villa have shut their training ground immediately following significant coronavirus outbreak, looking increasingly unlikely that the game with Liverpool will go tomorrow due to safety precautions, which is a bit of a shame. And it's difficult, isn't it? I'm just wondering if we're going to get to that point soon where they start saying we have to take a bit of time off from the football. I hope not. I think the protocols are in place, but big decisions might need to be made soon, because I would imagine a lot of Villa players are going to have to self-isolate now. But it comes down to the same thing I've been saying for a very long time. These players have got to act responsibly. Are you acting responsibly at the moment? Unless I'm very unlucky, I'm not going to catch COVID. Unless I catch it when I'm at the shops or something like that, which is once, twice a week. I'm not coming into contact with people. So what are these people doing in their own time? If you're being tested when you go into training and it's a sterile environment, what are you doing in your own time? Where are these players picking this up from? What are they doing? Because it shouldn't be happening now. We're in a national lockdown in the UK. It's very strict rules on people intermingling with other people. And when they're at football, many managers have said this, when they're actually at the football grounds and they're training and that's where they can keep them safe, because they know what they're doing. It's what they're doing in their own time. What are they doing in their own time? And the Premier League needs to get a grip on this, because there's no reason at all when we're in a national lockdown for football to be stopped. People need it. for their mental health and things like that. But there's no need for this to happen, so they need to get a grip on it. Mark, compare Gundogan passes completion rate and passes direction to Mctominay, says Marky. Well, I will get those stats for you. I can probably do it now. Let's have a quick look. Please smash a like on the video while you're watching, and make sure you subscribe at bottom right hand corner. If you give me 1 moment, I will very, very quickly do this for you. It's not hard, it's just a few clicks. That's what she said. So Man City, Man United, there we go. Let's go to that bit there. I want to go there. Select all passes. Get rid of them. Gundogan, get rid of them. So Gundogan played 59 passes yesterday, and I'm just trying to figure out here where he would be. It's hard to tell. I'm just clicking through. I would say, God, 70% of his. Well, no, I'm not going to go that much, but I'd say at least 60% of his passes are going forward. As I said, McTominay's were 60% going backwards, so there we go. Anyway, look, I'm going to be playing FIFA Career Mode if you want to join me on that. I've dropped the link in the video description for you. A bit of a bad day yesterday, Burnley, that's all I can say. But links in the video description. I'm going to be live there in about 10 minutes' time on Mark Goldbridge, That's Football, FIFA Career Mode with Manchester United. And links in the video description. Make sure you smash a like on this video. Just got a couple of super chats. United Live says, I know we're on the topic of our next game against Watford, but question about Liverpool, do you reckon Ollie will line up with 5 at the back? He didn't last night against Man City, so I would hope he doesn't against Liverpool, but we have done it before. Ollie is idiotic for sticking McTominay instead of Donny. It's so unbelievably crystal clear that Donny is way better. This is just idiotic, says Rick James. And Martinelli better than Greenwood, says Insane Miasi. Well, we've done that before, haven't we? But I like the name anyway, Insane Miasi. Thanks everyone for watching. I'm going to be on That's Football in 10 minutes. You can join me over there. We always have a bit of a chat while we're playing as well. And I'll speak to you soon. But look, the main thing for me is that Van der Beek plays against Watford. We can move, if he plays against Watford and he plays well, then we can keep this movement of this is why he needs to play. Let's see what happens.